And looks like we have started. Let it begin. Hello, good morning, everybody, or good evening, whatever time it is in your neighborhood. Today, what I thought I'd talk about for years, I've always said mindset is everything. Mindset is important. But, why? Why is mindset so important? Sometimes we gloss over that. We don't really see why having a positive mindset is so important if you want to have a positive life. It's like you can't have one thing without another. Oh, I forget her name now. It'll come to me after the broadcast, but a woman evangelist that I follow once said that you cannot have both a negative mind and a positive life. It's just they're mutually exclusive. And she's part of this new thought community, something that I've gotten involved in pretty deeply within the last 10 years or so. And it's like new thought. That community goes back to Emmett Fox, a lot of the folks from the late 1800s, early 1900s, and a lot of their work is just so influential that a lot of the self-help books that you see out there today are actually just people repeating what these new thought pioneers said back 100 years ago and even 200 years ago. I mean, it's not new age thought, this new thought community. It's just ancient thought that's been repackaged for the contemporary time period. And why is this so important? Why am I going off now on new thought? It's because the way that we think matters to our lives, matters to us personally, it matters to us spiritually, it matters to us by the outer life that we want to have, the outer life that we want to attract to ourselves. Our thoughts, our mindset play an important role in all of this. And I used to think, I know a lot of people probably still think this way, but I used to think that my own private thoughts were just my own private matter. It didn't influence anything. What I was thinking internally, what I was feeling internally, it was just cut off from the rest of humanity. And that was a very flawed assumption. Our thoughts help us to generate our outer world. Our thoughts create our lives. Our thoughts will help us co create the world around us, our family life, our community life, even our national life, even on a national level and global level. Our thoughts can have an impact. So if a person is in the habit, and I think this really is a habit, it's a habit that becomes so deeply ingrained in some people that they feel they can't break it. It's just the way I'm wired, is what they think. But some people are in the habit of just thinking about everything negatively. And lo and behold, I mean, everything bad that you can think can happen eventually happens to people who are in this negative thinking habit. And that's the pattern that they set up for themselves. I used to, maybe you've been around people like this too, but I used to be around people that had a very firm belief that whenever anything good happened to them, something bad was going to happen to them right next. It's like they had this experience probably programmed into them from early childhood. And they just got this idea set up in their head that if something really good happened, somebody was going to come around, pull the carpet right out from under them, and all that goodness would be swept away. And a lot of times they would expect this to happen relatively quickly. And so these people, they just get into this negative habit of thinking that they don't want anything good to happen to them in their lives. They cannot accept compliments. They cannot accept anything good happening to them in their life. They just want everything to be, smooth, even keel, smooth sailing, no normal ups and downs, because it's just a pattern of ups and downs. And we can influence that pattern. We can change that pattern. But people who are afraid of happiness, it's like they just want everything to be on a smooth level. Like, remember Mr. Spock from Star Trek? Everything's got to be non-emotional, non-happy, not happy, not sad, just logical. And that's the way a lot of these people tend to live their lives, because they're afraid of happiness. They're afraid that if they get happy, if they experience happiness, something bad is going to happen. And lo and behold, it always occurs, because that's the way their mental programming is influencing their lives. Your thoughts are more frickin' powerful than you probably can imagine. But once we begin to try to imagine this, we can become more mindful about our thoughts. We can learn to harness the energy of our thoughts, and we can begin using the power of our thoughts, our feelings, our inner energy. We can begin to harness this energy to consciously create a better life for ourselves and a better life for those around us. Napoleon Hill. I need to get here because I always mention Napoleon Hill in a lot of these streams. But Napoleon Hill once said, "What the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve." And I put that on my coffee cup. Yeah, important words to live by. Conceive it, believe it, achieve it. But what the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. Napoleon Hill also stated, "The only limits are in your mind and your imagination." I need to put that on a coffee cup or on a t-shirt. Probably put it on a t-shirt. But yeah, very important stuff. What Napoleon Hill hits on is this idea that mindset, what you think, what you can conceive in your mind, what you can believe in your heart, just a matter of personal faith, not just faith in the God of your understanding, if any, but faith in yourself, faith in the people around you, faith in the universe, that things are going to work out precisely as they should if we are living in harmony, in tune with the infinite, with the universe. And yeah, this wisdom is powerful, but it's stuff that flies over our head most of the time because we're not really taught this kind of stuff. We still, even in the 21st century, we know all about the relationship of energy and matter. And I'm going to get more deeply into that in tonight's live stream, tonight's stream. Because, yeah, we know that matter is made up of energy. I mean, the atomic age proved that beyond any shadow of a doubt. All matter is composed of energy. And our thoughts, what are thoughts? Thought waves, energy waves. What are our feelings? Emotional feelings. Our feelings are emotions. It's energy. Empaths can pick up what other people are feeling oftentimes before they feel it themselves. The empath can know what you're feeling before you're ready to be honest about your own feelings to even yourself. And this is a weird experience. Trust me, I've had it. I got wild and crazy, and I married an empath about 26 years ago. And it's been a wild ride sometimes for both of us, because I'm a guy that, years ago when we got married, I was pretty cut off from my own feelings, cut off from my own thoughts. And I mean, I didn't realize that she was an empath. And man, it's like a whole new world began to open up, whole new world of revelation for me and a whole new world of frustration for her, having to deal with a thick-headed guy like me. But 26 years we've made it work. But yeah, there are people out there like that, empaths. Why can they pick up these feelings, these thoughts? Because it's energy. It's energy that we're putting out into the universe. Most of the times we're doing it unconsciously. We don't realize we're doing it, and we don't realize the effects that these thoughts and feelings and energies are having on the world around us. But yeah, these effects can be seen over time. And I want to give you some concrete example before we end this live stream. But have you ever been around people? They have been like low 5-figure earners, and they always wanted to become strong 5-figure earners, but I don't know, they just couldn't seem to make it happen. And then you got other people in the same family, raised in the very much either the same or the similar environment. And I mean, they're 5- and 6-figure earners. And to them, it's no big deal. It's like, I just went out into the world. I got a good job. I worked it, kept it for 40 years. I retired. Piece of cake. Other people can't seem to do that. When I entered into the workforce, I something about my energy, I guess, but every company that I worked for within 3 years, man, would go bankrupt or would go through corporate downsizing. It's like company after company after company after company after company would just close down or downsize, eliminate jobs. And I mean, I would be laid off or I would quit before it happened because I could see it beginning to happen. I was at least conscious enough that I could see it beginning to happen, and I'd get out of there before, the last domino fell. But yeah, we see these things happening, but do we ever stop to think that maybe it's our mindset that is influencing us to be attracted to companies like that are about to close down, or to really be such a bad employee, maybe, that, we influence others in such a way that maybe the bankruptcy is partially our fault. I mean, I'm not going to go too deeply there. But yeah, our mindset can definitely influence our own lives. And it can play a part in the lives of others, lives in our family life, our community life, our corporate life. It all interconnects, it all interrelates. But to get back to my last example here, yeah, we've known people who wanted to go from low 5-figure incomes to high 5-figure incomes, never made it. We know people that are in like 5-figure earners want to become 6-figure earners. A lot of them don't make it, but then other people in their family do. And I've known people that were very good at becoming good, high 6-figure earners, earning a good 6-figure income, wanted to become millionaires, couldn't really take the next step. And it's like they retire, they go off to the farm, they get their own little retirement in the country, turning the country into the suburbs. And then they sit and wonder, why didn't I become a millionaire? Well, it just wasn't in the cards, or circumstances just weren't right. But did you happen to think that maybe your mindset played a huge role in everything? If you think that there's only one possible way to get to the goal, and then you feel that you can't follow that one way because of circumstances, because of the economy, because of politicians, because of this, that, and the other thing, then you have set yourself up for failure. And failures come in all sizes. You got failures of people that, they want to become five-figure earners. They can't do that. They feel like they failed. People that want to go from five figures to six figures and can't. They feel that they failed. People that want to go from six figures to seven figures, they can't do that. They feel that they failed. While at the same time, there are other people doing all these things, becoming seven-figure earners, eight-figure earners, even nine-figure earners. Why is this? Well, it's because the limits are in the mind and in the imagination. People can subconsciously set themselves up for failure because of their mental thinking, because they think that I can't do this. They don't believe that they can do this. And then when it begins to happen, they begin to self-sabotage and fail, because that's what they expect to see in their life. One failure after another failure, and then they don't learn from their failures. And that is really the ultimate failures. Successful people fail all the time. The difference between the successful person and the failure is that the successful person will learn from their failures, and they will pick up their toys and just carry on. The failure in life, they'll fail, they won't learn from their failures, and they'll pick up their toys and they'll run home. It's a huge difference in mindset, but it's right up here in the mind. What do you expect from your life? What do you believe is possible? Grant Cardone is another entrepreneur I like to follow on social media. And I got acquainted with him through his book, The 10X Principle or 10X Factor. It's got a big 10 with an X on the cover. It's an interesting book. I've listened to it a few times on Audible. And in that presentation, one of his presentations that he does talking about the 10X Factor is he will say, okay, you believe that you can earn five figures a year. Most people are doing that. Most people believe that is possible, and they achieve that. They achieve that level of success. I may not be an Elon Musk, but at least I'm earning five figures a year doing this, that, and the other thing. So I'm not a complete failure, okay? But then Grant Cardone challenged people to think a little bit more out of the box, a little bit more creatively. And this is where he challenged my mindset. He said that why can't you take, if you can earn five figures a year, why can't you take your yearly income, turn it into your monthly income? And I thought about that, and I thought, it's not possible. You can't do that. And yeah, it is possible. People can do it. But if you got the mindset that it's not possible, I can't do it, then yeah, you're right. You can't do it. It took me a few years to begin to wake up, listening to that presentation over and over again, beginning to realize, yeah, I have been pre-programmed by myself over the years. Other people contributed to it. Sure, I can't take all the credit. But yeah, I allowed it to happen, and I allowed it to persist for as long as it did. But I pre-programmed myself, from early childhood into, the young age of 50-ish, upper 50s, lower 60s, to believe that, yeah, certain things were not possible for me because that was in my programming. And what Grant Cardone did in that presentation, he challenged me to begin thinking outside the box. Why can't I earn five figures a month? If you can do five figures a year, why not five figures a month? And Grant Cardone, in his 10X presentations, the 10X Factor, he just says, all you have to do Take what you're doing, multiply it by 10, and you'll get 10 times the results. Well, yeah, very simple in thought. How easy is it to do it in action? A little bit more difficult, but that brings us back to the original Napoleon Hill statement we opened with. What the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. If you can conceive it in your mind, if you can believe it in your heart, feelings, your emotions, and you can channel that energy into action, into the outer physical world, we affect the outer physical world through our thoughts, through our feelings, and through our actions. A lot of times people will think, okay, I can only affect the outer world through my actions. Rubbish. Your thoughts, your feelings have an effect too. Other people think they can do it purely by thought. And there are some people out there that can do some impressive mind over matter stuff, move objects with their mind. Pretty interesting people to be around if you've ever seen that. But most people, though, can't do that. Most of us, it's a combination of thought, feeling, action. And we have to have that trinity of energy active in our life before we can begin to realize our dreams. And Napoleon Hill says this so poetically here: what the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. You will begin to do those things in your outer world. How many people dreamed of powered flight, powered heavier than air flight, going way back? Leonardo da Vinci, back in the Middle Ages, the Renaissance period, he was writing sketches of things that looked like gliders and even something that looked like a helicopter. Why isn't it that we didn't have helicopters flying around during the Renaissance period? Why is it that powered flight only began in the early 20th century with the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk? Well, it's because the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk, the Wright brothers even before Kitty Hawk, were kind of different people. They conceived the idea that they could build a machine that could fly heavier than air. And before the Wright brothers, people were floating around in hot air balloons, helium balloons, hydrogen balloons, I think, were created before the Wright brothers flew at Kitty Hawk. But they believed that heavier than air flight was something that was possible. They challenged themselves. We are going to do this. We are going to build such a machine, and we are going to fly it. They could conceive it, they believed it, and they achieved it. While a lot of the other people in the world, the other 95% of people that just don't know how to dream anymore, they were laughing. They thought, can't be done. If God had intended people to fly, he would have given them wings. Well, God didn't give us wings, but God gave us a mind. God gave us an imagination. God gave us the ability to feel. And I believe God expects us to use all of that stuff, all of this software, all of this spiritual technology to begin to build the life of our dreams by building our dreams in the material world. But you got to believe it, you've got to conceive it, you've got to believe it, and then you can achieve it. It's a threefold pattern there. A lot of things in life are threefold, come to think of it. Tesla said if you can think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, you will understand the whole universe. And three of his most important numbers were 3, 6, and 9. And you think of that. What's 6? 2 times 3. What's 9? Another multiple of 3. 3 times 3. Energy, frequency, vibration. We see this a lot of times. It's this threefold pattern repeating. A lot of the religious parables that were told by wise men throughout the ages, followed a threefold pattern. A lot of our jokes follow a threefold pattern. A priest, a nun, and a rabbi walk into a bar. Well, why isn't it just a priest and a rabbi? No, it's a threefold pattern. Where does that come from? A lot going on in the universe that we take for granted and we just overlook it. And that's kind of sad, really, because if we can be aware of what's going on around us, if we can become more aware of how we affect things, what we contribute to all this stuff going on around us, then we can begin to make positive changes for ourselves and the people around us. Because we affect more than just ourselves. We affect other people too. Most of the times we're affecting people in an unconscious way. But if we can learn to become more conscious, more aware, then we can begin to have a greater effect on ourselves, on the people around us, and our local, national, and global communities. So yeah, mindset. That's why mindset is so important. It's not just a little meme that you see on the internet. There's a lot really behind this. I could go on another hour about this. And later on tonight, I'm going to be talking about the metaphysical implications. We've already gotten into a little bit of this. But yeah, some more about the metaphysical implications of why the mindset is so important. Because, man, great people throughout the ages have known this. It's been hidden thought. You might call it occult thought. Occult literally means hidden. It's stuff that's hidden from most people because they do not have the eyes to see it, or the ears to hear it, or the comprehension with which to understand it. But yeah, there is a great school of occult thought that explains why mindset is so important and why your mind is really the most powerful tool that you can imagine. And it's a powerful tool for ill or for good once we learn to harness it consciously. And the sad thing is, most people do not know how to harness their own thoughts. We hear about people who can read the thoughts of others. Some people can't even read their own thoughts. They can't even feel their own feelings. And if they can, they're not honest about it, not to themselves, not to other people. And this can be a very destructive mindset to get into. Don't be like that. Focus on your mindset, focus on improving mindset, read some good, positive literature. If you're a Bible reader, read some positive quotes out of the Bible. If you're a self-help reader, some stuff by Napoleon Hill, some New Thought community stuff can work. Read the Bhagavad Gita, whatever your thing is. There's great stuff in all the literature of humanity. Access it. Put it to work. Use it. Start working on your own mental programming. And stop being programmed by your past experiences and by other people in your lives today. Media programs us. Social media, television programming. They even call it programming. We are programmed mentally by all the things that happen in our lives. And we allow this to happen to us unconsciously because we're not aware of the power and the effect that all these things can have on ourselves. But the good news is, and I like to leave on a good note, the good news is that when you become consciously aware of all this stuff, you can begin to make changes. You can begin to alter your own mental programming. And when you do that, you can begin to change your outer life. Remember, what the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. So yeah, conceive it, believe it, achieve it. Our threefold ending for today. Thanks for dropping by. If you found value, please give this a like, a thumbs up, leave a comment. And we'll catch you later in tonight's stream about going a little bit more deeply into the metaphysical side of why mindset is so important. So until then, thanks a lot. We'll catch you later on, my friends. Bye bye.